Yes, dude, we did it! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have all of my updated Super Helldive builds for taking down the Automaton scum. And since my last build update, so they've added the War Strider, Flying Hulks, and they've made the Feet on Factory Striders a little more beefy. So I have big updates to my all-around favorite, the Incineration Corps and the Dunk Brigade builds. These have been extensively tested, and you see me using them on stream all the time, and they're consistently updated in my Discord first, along with all my other guides. So lighting this off, we'll start by talking about the best armor to take into the bots. If you want to have the best survivability, all three of my bot builds use either the B24 Enforcer or the Heavy Explosive Resistance armors. This is going to allow you to eat an insane amount of punishment from these disgusting dissidents, and it will keep you alive through some of the most ridiculous situations they can throw at you. Chains of Ragdoll, whatever it might be, it's just going to keep you alive. A lot of the weapons we use also benefit from having recoil reduction, and that makes things like the heavy machine gun an absolute beam. So having that paired with explosive resistance when most of the lethal damage you take on the bots is explosive is always going to feel the best to use. Looking at the advanced armor stats, you can quickly see the different effective HPs of all of them and why some armors outclass others in terms of damage reduction fairly quickly. As a side note, I do think the unflinching armor has some really fun epoch tech, and it has the headshot damage reduction to be valuable, but outside of that, I don't really think it's worth wearing any of the medium 100 value armors just for their passives. The main reason for that is the light armors with the same passives take the same amount of headshot damage, but they get so much more movement speed that it helps you be in a better position the entire game, and they just feel better to play with. Honestly, going around at Mach 10 in light armor is just really fun, and one thing to note is if you're drip diving, none of this really matters, and that also takes us into our first build. I'm a bot to Erupt. This has been my go-to favorite and most fun build on the bots just because it's so flexible and has so many weapon options that it just helps keep the game fresh. We already talked about what armor we're locking in, but of course our main weapon is going to be the Eruptor. This has been pretty much just the best patrol control weapon that you can take in on every faction. Our attachment focus for the Eruptor is going to be iron sights and the angled foregrip. Both of these give a ton of ergonomics, which is just weapon handling, how it feels to use, how fast you can snap it around the screen, and just makes the weapon feel more fun to use, and that's pretty much the most important thing. We also do have some weapon swaps if you just want to keep it fresh. The crossbow does the same job as the Eruptor, where you're going to be able to take out all the fabricators, the giant fabricators as well. It's really good for pretty much everything, and it's also very good at taking down patrols. Then we also do have two plasma weapons, the Purifier and the Scorcher. The Purifier is good at patrols as well, just lots of good AoE, and then the Scorcher is just a point-and-click adventure. It's pretty much my favorite gun in the entire game for every faction. As for our secondary weapon, if there's like a tank or like a Hulk, just something annoying in the way and you just need that fast reset, the Ultimatum helps you get there. It's also really good for those, again, like poorly positioned factory striders, like, or when you're poorly positioned, it's good for taking those out. And it's just a good panic tool, and you don't really need your sidearm with the primary and support weapons that you take with this loadout. So having that perfect backup option for when you do need it to reset is pretty much unmatched. But if you do feel like you're struggling with Hulks, you need that snap removal, the Senator's a really good go-to for that. We'll dive into a little bit more later, but it's a good backup instead of the Ultimatum because it can kill every single enemy that the Automatons have as well. As for our grenades, we either lock Pyrotech or Thermite. Almost everybody has Thermite, and it's just a great go-to, mainly for War Striders because they can be really annoying, but it only takes one Thermite stuck anywhere on their body, legs, or peen. If you do hit the arm, sometimes it rots the arm off, and then the Thermite won't finish it off. So just keep that in mind, but it's a really good go-to for that, and it's also really good at removing all the heavy armor. But if you did get the Master of the Ceremony Warbond and you have Pyrotech, this is going to be used in my other two loadouts more heavily than the Thermite. It's so good at killing patrols, just bot drops. The area denial that this thing gives is amazing. Throwing 3 at pretty much any problem that comes at you will take it down. It does take 4 for a factory strider, and you get 3 back per resupply. This grenade, since it came out, has been one of my go-tos for the bots, and I personally think that it is the flat-out best bot grenade that you can take in, because no matter what situation they throw at you, the more pyrotech you throw at it, the easier that it gets to deal with. And honestly, it's just a sparkler grenade that's insanely fun to use, and like the rest of the loadout, it prioritizes fun and power at the same time, so I really do think if you've been sleeping on Pyrotech that you should lock it in. Moving over to our stratagems, the first one we're locking in is Eagle Airstrike. This has been an OG GOAT for a really long time, but with the Factory Strider surges happening the other week, being able to have a one-shot option for them with the well-placed bomblets is unmatched. And just in general, it's so good at just removing tanks. The area denial it has is amazing, and you can call 3 of them in fairly quickly just to reset whatever's happening if things are getting out of control. You can also flex your Eagle slot over to Eagle Strafe because it is pretty much the best patrol control that you could take in for the Eagle slot. And if your team needs a high demolition thing to get rid of Eyes of Sauron, make sure you do lock in 500 kg in this slot. Orbital Gatling Barrage has been pretty much one of my go-to favorites all around since they buffed it a long time ago, and it's also just insanely cool. But the best part about it is that it's low cooldown and lets you spam it, and when you make a mistake with it, it doesn't feel as bad. A bad throw, or if you fumble it and it lands on your head, it also won't kill you because you're wearing explosive resistance, which is really nice. But it doesn't feel like you got punished for that, and you could just throw another one so quickly. Plus, that area denial that it provides just lets you shut down like a small choke, just in, well, not really small, it's actually like a 35-yard choke or meter choke. And then it gives you time to reload and reset while that's going off, because none of the bots are going to be able to push through that area. It is going to cook them all off. You can also flex this for Rocket Sentry, but I personally prefer keeping the Orbital Gatling Barrage and combining with the Eagle Airstrike for just such a massive amount of on-demand power. Then for our support weapons, we have lots of options. You can pretty much pick whatever you feel like, just depending on the mission and your vibe. I personally almost always go with the heavy machine gun with this build because it just feels so good to use, and it's so fun to just flip it over to max RPM and go blasting. The the Hulks are going to get knocked out by this thing so quickly. If you learn how to control the fully automatic, you're going to be able to cook the eyes off so fast that you're just going to feel powerful. And the best part is, with the explosive resistant armor, you also get that 30% recoil reduction, where if you crouch or lay down, it just turns the heavy machine gun into an absolute beam, and you really feel its true power with this setup. Now, finally, we do have our supply backpack. This is going to give us infinite resources. I know supply backpacks are in most people's build, but this is, I'm a bot to Erupt, and it is extremely ammo hungry, grenade hungry, and it needs all the resources it can get, so it is worth taking it in. Having those extra stims, plus your teammates are probably going to be bleeding out of resources fairly quickly too. A lot of people like to take the recoilless rifle into the bots, and being able to top them up actually helps a ton, and just being a good teammate with the supply backpack is more important than anything else. Moving on to our second loadout, we do have the best Incineration Core team build. This is mainly focused on keeping your team alive, because there is a lot of people that really struggle with the Incineration Core. We will start by talking about the armor though, because we are keeping on explosive resistance or heavy explosive resistance. The main reasoning behind this is pretty simply because fire really doesn't kill you that much. If you wear the heavy fire resistance armor, those shotgun devastators are still going to end up one-shotting you in it, so I just don't really see the point in it, when most of the lethal damage that even the Incineration Core has is going to be explosive more than fire. This build is also focused on almost not taking damage against the Incineration Core with the Shield Generator Relay, and I know a lot of people always are like, yo, like, what? Anytime somebody brings up the Shield Gen, it's kind of like, it seems troll until you lock it in on the Incineration. The thing is, the fire damage they put out is really bad at killing the big shield. Like, really bad at knocking it down. They literally just can't do it, and they have to push straight into it. Your big problems that you're going to have with the shield gen is mainly the factory striders, the tanks, and the war striders. They're going to be able to blow the shield up, so if you take them down quickly, your shield's just going to pretty much last until it expires. The one thing to note is that the War Strider doesn't actually kill the shield generator relay up front. It just shoots grenades through the shield bubble. So you just have to keep that in mind, and that is your number one priority with this build, is to knock out War Striders before they get close. And you do that with the recoils rifle. We usually don't have to talk about how good the recoils is, because it is definitively just the overall best automaton stratagem. You can knock out every single thing that they have in one well-placed rocket if you're shooting for weak points, and it's extremely easy to use. It's just fire and forget for the most part, point and click, you just win. Once you do learn the nuances of it, you can ping and figure out which ring is for which distance, and you really get the vibe for it, but it's more of a feel it out kind of thing as you play more. One thing to keep in mind is if you're blasting factory striders with it, you do want to aim for the eye, but if you do miss and you blow its head up, you can either finish it off with a pyrotech grenade, or you can just have your rocket sentry finish it off for you. One thing to keep in mind is this can be an extremely resource heavy build with the recoils rifle if you're shooting hulks with it. So always make sure that you keep at least one rocket in reserve for if there's like an emergency factory strider, or more importantly, an emergency war strider pushing your spot, that you have their shield gen set up, so that way you can just quickly take it down and maintain that safe position, because with the shield gen you're going to be able to push up into them and like just take over super easily. So just keep that in mind. You can also supplement this with the rocket sentry, and that is going to be like the perfect combo basically if you do make a mistake with the recoilless rifle and you don't blow the factory strider's head up in like one shot because you missed the eye, for instance. The rocket sentry is just going to help you finish that off, and you won't have to waste a second rocket on it. On top of that, the rocket sentry is just ridiculously good at cooking off pretty much everything that they could throw at you. But if you do want to flex that out because you don't like sentries, which I know quite a people don't, I usually take 120 millimeter barrage in its place. That's also an extreme area denial stratagem that is very, very powerful on the bots. Because of its low cooldown, you can throw it almost every single bot drop, and it is just whatever in there is gone. And I personally think this is quite a bit better than 380 millimeter barrage because of the cooldown and the area denial that it provides. In our last stratagem slot, I usually lock Eagle Strafe with this build simply because buzzing patrols with it's really important, and being able to knock annoying hulks out also helps you save quite a few rockets, especially because you get so many Eagle Strafes in one game. But again, if your team needs that Eye of Sauron removal, just switch it over to 500 kg. Unless, of course, you have 120, then you don't need 500 kg because 120 can also take them out. For our main weapons, we're going to be locking in the Dominator. I personally use this a lot differently from most people. Most people go for the full ergonomic build like the Eruptor, but I personally use it as the spray down blasted build. With the recoil reduction you get from the explosive resistant armor, if you crouch and start blasting with this setup, it is a beam and you're just going to be punching everything down. The Reflex Mark II sight is something I like using again just because I like fully aiming in with it, but if you don't like aiming in, iron sights for the extra ergo is perfectly fine, and then the vertical foregrip helps you keep control and just stay locked in while you're just spraying this thing down. One of the most important things about the Dominator to note for this build is I took it because it's really cool. That's basically it. I love using the Dominator, and that's why I lock it in with it. There's just something about bringing the bolter with the recoilless rifle, and you just like, you have all these big power weapons. And one of the things I love about the Dominator against the Incineration Corp is that you can keep flinching the Devastators with the shotguns. That way they don't one-shot you. For a secondary weapon though, Senator, no contest, because there is so many hulks on the Incineration Corp. I like having that quick snap access to just being able to delete them off the map. Especially, again, with the recoil reduction, you crouch, you could very easily pop the eye out of this thing in 3 shots. You could dump all of them if you feel like it. And don't be afraid to just pull your Senator out and go blasting with it, right? Like, Devastators, Soldier Bots, nobody's safe from Big Iron. Finally, Pyrotech Grenade. Again, if you're sleeping on it, this grenade, it is just so good across the board. Being able to just toss these out and either soften big targets up so the rocket sentry can finish them off, and then the fire that it leaves also helps you control the patrols and control chokes that they're pushing through, that helps them prevent them from ever getting to you in the first place. And when we jump over to the Dunk Brigade, we're going to be locking Pyrotech in again. I know it's like, damn, you use one grenade for all these builds. That's because Pyrotech is just ridiculously cool. I love throwing these Democratic Sparklers out and just letting all these dissidents rot out in him. So you're also going to notice this man has a nice jersey on, and it's going to keep him nice and cozy, but not cozy enough to avoid Hulk jousting. Main point of this build is to just match the energy that the Dunk Brigade provides. They're the coolest faction to go fight, just in general. Seeing the Hulk sleep at you is just really cool. And locking in the railgun with the jump pack and just going blasting with it is ridiculously fun. Matching them and just getting that off is just, it's peak. It's not efficient, and is it the best possible meta thing to do? Absolutely not, but it is ridiculously cool, and that's what it's all about. But if you do want to lock in something a little more meta that doesn't involve jousting, take the supply backpack with the grenade launcher. It obliterates the Jet Hulks at, like, it's just 2 shots to the top front of them to cook them off, and the grenade launcher was already really good at taking out bot patrols and drops, but because the Jet Brigade explodes when they die, the residual damage from that combined with the GL spam damage gets crazy kill streaks in those chain explosions going off. Just looks insanely cool. If you pair this with the Scorcher, it does let you pretty much just WQ everything down and gives you that power fantasy, but I personally preferred the Scythe because it's so good against the crazy amount of soldier bots that they throw at you. Just 1 tick of damage is enough to blow up the jetpacks on the normal soldiers, and it cooks the Devastator's off insanely fast too. For my attachments, I use the angled foregrip and the Mark II reflex sight, and after I unlocked the high capacity heatsink, it completely changed the weapon for me. You can shoot for basically forever, and it just feels so much better to use. Also, don't be afraid to overheat it in a crazy battle. The reload is ridiculously fast, and you can always just play safe on the last heatsink until the next resupply. For our sidearm, we are locking the Senator in again for when things get a little too close to us, because sometimes the surprise hulks could be a little bit scary, and you just need to delete them from reality as fast as possible. As for our last two stratagem slots, the Gatling Sentry is one of my go-tos, just because rule of cool, it just looks amazing when these bots are jumping in on you, and it is just hosing them all down. When the Devastators and Soldiers come in on you, I do feel like you actually need just an extra companion with you, because this is either a solo or a group build, to be able to take those out, because they do come out of nowhere sometimes and they surround you very quickly, and this helps you deal with that, and it helps you lock every situation down. I also do know that Machine Gun Sentry is more meta, and it's better than the Gatling Sentry in the sense of, like, it has a lower cooldown, it provides the same roll, and it's a little more efficient, and lastly, I use the Gatling Sentry because I think it's awesome, and rule of cool wise, we're taking the one that goes bird. But if you do feel like you are struggling with hulks with this build, the Autocannon Sentry just knocks them down crazy fast, and it looks really cool when it plots out of the air. Finally, in our last slot, I usually just lock in 500 kg. A lot of times you just need to pop Eye of Saurons on the Dunk Brigade. Last time we played them, there was like 2 to 3 per map, so that's what I was bringing. And that is all 3 of our bot builds updated, but just to quickly talk about boosters, they're the same for every single build as you saw, but I've personally been replacing Experimental Infusion with Muscle Enhancement on planets with just a lot of haze, smoke, whatever you want to call it. It just makes the game look really bad with the filter that it puts over your screen. I also updated the bot spawn seed guides. This is something I've kept on top of since Escalation of Freedom dropped. To the hotfix, not the patch, to the hotfix, because sometimes they change. And I hope this helps you guys out. But if you are slamming a new major order, the best place to go kill soldier bots is on the Rocket Strider / Factory Strider seeds. That's where you're going to see the most of them. You do have to bring the orbital rail cannon strike and then like have a soldier bot positioned alone to get it off. So is what it is. But if you do want to hard counter a mission with your own loadout, these are the enemies you will see the vast majority of the time. So I hope this helped y'all out. And if you do have some cool builds or combos you want me to try, just let me know down in the comments or at me in Discord in the builds channel. I note almost all of it down, and I try and invite people who made them to come play with a 4-stack of their build when I'm streaming, because I just think it's way more fun to do it that way and go blast it. And also, if you do want my overall favorite, most fun build for every single faction, the Disposables just got updated. It's the first link in the description.
One last run. He didn't get in. It's fine. Try and keep up. The car's done. No. I'm on them.